Shell Presto here. We're still just wading into Inktober. Today, I'm sharing my Day 3 drawing using the Drawlloween prompt, The Whisper of Waterfront Wharf. Now, I was pretty torn on what to do for this one. Part of me was considering doing the deep ones from H.P. Lovecraft's Shadow over Innsmouth story, which is a favorite of mine. But then I also didn't get in on any of that mermaid action back in May, so that won out. At least in a way, because selkies come pretty close. Don't fret if you wanted deep ones though. I conveniently have to draw both for one of our upcoming Ascension Epoch books. So this is our Ascension Epoch redesign of Maureen Marine, a pretty strange public domain character who is Queen of Atlantis. The original didn't look at all aquatic. She was just a girl who was revived underwater after the boat she was on was attacked during World War II. The King of Atlantis says the Queen is dying and they need a new one. She says sure, which is bizarre because the King ain't a young Prince Charming and, well, if it were me, I'd sure as heck be super concerned that the King isn't scrambling and using every resource available to save the current queen. Seriously, this guy picked a new queen before the old one drew her last breath. And here's the back and forth where I'm trying to decide whether the best route to keep this drawing PG-13 is with conveniently placed sealskin or windswept hair that is coincidentally covering her up. I didn't want to go with a shell bra or anything, since she already has to have a sealskin. It seemed odd that she'd carry around a bra too. And if she did, it wouldn't be anything nautical or beachy because, well, why wouldn't you just wear the kind you already had under your clothing? Plus, anything less than a full 1890s bathing suit would be scandalous during this era anyway. So I wanted to go au naturel with this piece. In the end, it seemed questionable that the sealskin would go so far up the way I had envisioned it working. It hugging the bottom and sides of her ribcage seemed logical to me, so I went with the windswept hair. Which tactic would you choose if this were your drawing? Anyway, it's a fun comic and I do enjoy it, but it's bizarre. Marine doesn't have any powers besides breathing underwater, and writer-artist Harold DeLay often forgets the characters are underwater. They tend to walk instead of swim, and there are instances during heated pursuits where they trip, when you wouldn't really fall if you tripped underwater, you know? For the Ascension Epoch, we thought Marine would make a pretty good selkie. That's a sort of Celtic mermaid who wears sealskin. We also move her from the 1940s back to the late 1890s, because we thought she'd fit in nicely with our War of the Worlds stories in Martian War Chronicles. So, in our books, Maureen McCrory, we changed her name from Maureen Marine because, if your last name was Maureen, why would you name your kid Maureen? Anyway, in our books, Maureen McCrory was the child of a British sea captain from Gloucester and a Selkie princess. Her mother died pining for the sea, and her father kept the secret of her heritage from her, even to the extent of forbidding her from swimming. By 1898, the young woman stowed away on board her father's vessel as it headed out to sea on the eve of the Martian assault on Gloucester. Those who saw Captain McCrory depart said he had gone mad from misfortune, and whispered cryptically about raising a devil from the sea to battle the devils from the stars. McCrory and his ship were never seen again, but a week after the British guerrillas drove the Martians from Gloucester, Marine was found by the signalman along the shore of the Severn River, wounded and naked but for a strange wet animal pelt at her feet. Obviously, this drawing gives away that Marine's a selkie, but that's not the crux of the story. She's chock full of other mysteries and, well, the bigger problem is obviously the invading Martians and trying to defend Britain. And who doesn't like throwing a selkie into a heroic adventure novel? As for the artwork, this piece falls neatly into my comfort zone. I like drawing pretty girls and had to learn to draw water doing practically everything because of Torrent, our resident hydrokinetic in our East End Irregulars books. I also just love the ocean, especially in fall when it's overcast and a little cool, and you can be the only person walking on the beach even if you have to wear a coat and not go in the water. I did the sketch using the Pilot Color Eno and Prismacolor Colorase erasable colored pencils. Using different colors for my construction lines and final lines helps me better mark what I actually want to ink. For the inking, I once again just used Micron pens, size 005 and 01. I'm working pretty small on a Canson mixed media tablet. So you probably noticed I didn't get the Wharf into this piece, but the inherent time limits on these challenges will do that to you. I'm a little glad actually, because it means in November I can go back and add a nice English coastal scene in the background. I'll also be coloring this, or at least adding warm and cool gray shading. We need watercolor Vember to follow Inktober so we can add color to all the pieces that need it from Inktober. This was not my first public domain redesign, and it won't be my last. I've got an occasional series going on where I do this. If you'd like to see my public domain redesign for Deja Thoris from the John Carter of Mars books, I'll link that at the end. It also talks more about what the public domain is. Maureen will appear in a future Martian War Chronicles story alongside Signalman. You can get ready for that by checking out the first Martian War Chronicles book over at ascensionepoch.com. The book contains 4 short stories, 2 steampunk, 1 Wild West, and 1 fairy tale. And there are a few illustrations by yours truly thrown in to make it extra special. Please consider giving this video a thumbs up, and subscribe if you'd like to get a look into my future art ventures. And, as always, if you have a comment, leave it below, because I want to know what you thought of this video, this drawing, and what you'd like to hear me talk about in the future. What's the weirdest comic book you've ever read? Do you think mermaids are awesome or overhyped? What color tail would you want if you were one? I'd want blue, by the way, both because it's really pretty and my favorite color, and also as camouflage against sharks. Most importantly, I hope you have an awesome day. Presto, over and out.
Hello, I am Winky, and I'm here to discuss an important topic. A lot of you humans seem to think that mermaids are all that. They are a magical melding of human and fish, and their tails shimmer like the finest jewels, and you think that's cool. But mermaids are quite distressing to cats and kittens, and you should not try to make your cats associate with mermaids. You see, we find mermaids deeply confusing. We love snuggling humans, and so we want to snuggle the top half of the mermaid. When they're not in water, of course. Wise cats hate baths and rain. But the bottom half of a mermaid looks like dinner. We want to fry them up in a pan and eat them. These feelings obviously conflict, and can be very distressing to cats. They are even more distressing when our beloved owners dress as mermaids for Halloween. So please keep that in mind, because we love our humans so much, and it is one of our greatest fears that they should turn into mermaids that we want to half eat, and that they would want us to move into the permanent bath of an ocean with them. So please, don't dress as a mermaid this Halloween, and politely arrange for your cat to go have a cat's night out with their furry friends when you have your mermaid poker night. And don't get me started on this abomination. Who thought this was a good idea? What am I supposed to do with this? Ask her out on a date or make sushi with her? Does she want to eat her own tail? Whoever made this should be forced to listen to the Spice Girls while eating licorice pickled in vinegar and cloves. Ahem. Anyway, that is my official Winky advice. Always keep your eye open and have a wonderful night. Winky, over and out.